Hi, and welcome to our monthly chat. This happens on the final Friday of every month. I send out, just so everyone knows, they're in the monthly newsletter. There's always a reference to our chat. So if you're interested in sharing that with somebody, please forward the newsletter to anybody you like, and there'll be a link in there to join the chat. And then about a week before the actual chat, I will send out another invitation. And then for those folks who sign up, we like to send out a reminder just a day before the chat starts. So thanks to all of you for joining. I'm actually wondering if we're having some technical issues because we had about more than twice as many folks register. So either that or it's just maybe just the smog is clearing, the brush fires are clearing, and folks can actually get outside for a few minutes. I'm sure we'll have some other folks join here in a minute. This month we wanted to talk about helping people help themselves, and this is really about different ways that folks engage with Friendly Water for the World, and by engaging with Friendly Water for the World, engaging with the communities and the people that we support and collaborate with and help. And there are lots of ways to go about doing that. And we're going to talk about some of those ways. I've asked several folks to chat today about how they've engaged with the organization in the past. And I'm also going to put together a handful of other interviews where we can have these little video snippets. So if you have an interest in engaging with us, you can take a look at one of these videos and see how other people have done it in the past and see what might be interesting to you. So just some housekeeping. I've already taken care of the audio. Feel free to interrupt me or others if you have comments or questions. You're always welcome to ask a question in the little chat feature. The chat is being recorded. We do upload these to YouTube, and so please feel free to go to YouTube to see the previous ones. We've got lots of folks have done that with several hundred views on our YouTube channel. All the chats, both historical and future ones, can be accessed on our events page. And you can always contact me if you have any questions or ideas for future chats, and I'll be happy to chat with you about that. A little bit about who we are, for I think everyone here knows, but fresh is always great. We are experts in village scale technologies. We build knowledge and resilience. We activate community engagement. We embrace the dignity, strengths, and rights of all living beings, and we stand with the vulnerable. And I think it's always important to mention that at the start. So our speakers today are, I'm just going to do a little bit of chatting. Queeg hopefully will be joining us at some point here. Sarah, I think, just got on the line. Chris is on the line, and I'm going to show you a video for Renelle. I had two other speakers as well, but unfortunately they weren't able to make it. So we still have a great lineup. And I want to start by, actually, I'm going to close this down. And I want to start by sharing the work we're doing on our new website. So for a couple of reasons, we've been doing some redesign of our website. A lot of this is just about updating to make sure we have the most recent information on the site, but also kind of catching up with some of the additional technologies that we've added, and making sure that we're both sharing information about the new projects that we're doing and will be doing, and also about the communities that we've been engaged in and with for the last couple of years. It's probably been, David would know this better than I would, but it's probably been a little while since the website had a facelift. So we're doing a little bit of redesign work. This is all in process. So what I'm going to share with you is just an initial phase, if I can figure out where I am. There we go. And there we go. Okay, so it's on that screen. Get my A into B here. And there. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see that. This is our participate page. Couple of things I wanted to share. Like I said, this is a work in progress. There's lots of, this design is probably going to look a little bit different than the way it is right now, but we're just kind of putting all the information on one page. We want to make sure that we give people an opportunity to sign up, and then also talk about, and here's Nancy Nelson, one of our awesome volunteers, and also talk about the different ways in which you can participate and volunteer with the organization. A lot of the initial work is just being work. We're transitioning to a brand new system. So this will be the site, and you can't really tell right now, the site will be much faster than it has been. So I've been doing a lot of kind of under the hood work, and also a lot of work on the just some of the structural elements of it. So the header and the footer and places like that that are consistent across each page. You'll notice that there's a different logo right here. The logo that we currently have, I'm either going to have to recreate or we're going to do something else, because it unfortunately it doesn't scale. We don't have a file that scales well for the current size. So I needed a placeholder. So this is kind of a placeholder for now in order for me to work on the rest of the site. But here's the basic outline of it. It's very clean. It's very modern. The information will be very easy to find on the site. There is actually a calendar here. This is just a list, but you can look by month or day. You can search for events, and then we'll have these other pages will be filled in here shortly. If this works, it's responsive designed so that on your mobile device, you'll just be able to click call right here if you want to get in touch with us for some reason. And here we can link to our social media. So this is just the general outline for the site. I'm super excited for a couple of things. One, that our previous site, we had an external vendor managing it, and they've done a great job, but you know, when you want to make some changes, it always takes a little bit of time to go through those steps. And so this site will be something that we have our own direct access to, and we can make changes on the fly. And if we have a new project coming up or a new opportunity for people to engage, they'll be able to do that. We'll be able to make some modifications to the site immediately, which is really exciting. And the other part is this hasn't really been well connected to our backend systems in terms of being able to have people sign up and enroll in things and engage digitally through the website. And so this will allow us to do a lot of more modern things that we haven't had an opportunity to do before. So I wanted to talk today about kind of the central section right here. And these are 4 different ways that folks have and can engage with the organization. Capacity building, field operations, promotions, and innovation. And these are just general categories that, to be honest, just help me kind of bucket things. And these will be kind of presented in a slightly different way. But I lead a volunteers committee and organize our volunteers. So this is a great way for me to be able to talk to them and get their feedback as well about what they would like to do, ideas they have. As an example, we have a new volunteer, Andy, who lives in Montana, and she and I were chatting after our volunteers meeting the other day, and she is going to be working with me on figuring out ways that we can market and better understand the local economies of the communities in which we work. And we've never done any of that kind of work before, and it's fantastic that we've got a volunteer. She's lived in 2 African countries, so she's got experience on the ground in these communities, and it's a great opportunity for us to kind of build out some of that knowledge that we haven't had before. So that's really exciting. Today I'm going to, so we have a few folks to talk today. I'm going to start by playing a short video, a little 5-minute video from Renelle. Renelle wasn't able to join us at noon because she had a prior engagement, but she and I spoke earlier. And Renelle's done a number of things with the organization, and she's going to chat about a couple of them today. One of them, how she's used Facebook for and with Friendly Water for the World, and also how she's attended our training in Ana Cortez, and then gone out of the country down to Mexico, and also gone to India with David on his trip in the spring before COVID arrived. And so she'll talk about a couple of those things. So let me tee up her chat right here. And share computer scenes. There we go. All right. And if anybody can't see or hear her, please let me know.
I think I told David Albert this story that years ago I actually was on Facebook and got hooked by a charity water ad. And it was a little video. The guy who owns the company is very charismatic. He was kind of telling a story about he was kind of in the party life in LA and doing drugs and partying. And then one morning he woke up and said, "What am I doing this for?" And then that's how he started Charity Water, which I don't give money to anymore. But that was really how I kind of got hooked on it, giving a donation. I actually gave him a monthly donation for probably a couple years until I got involved with Friendly Water. So I do think stories and testimonials and things that are going to hit people in the heart and make them have empathy so they can give some donations would be excellent. And I think Facebook's definitely a place to do it because Facebook has a lot of female users. And I think a lot of times that would be the best person to target for empathy. Not that men don't have it, they do.
And you've also done, you've done a birthday fundraiser, right, where you chose Friendly Water for the World as your...
Oh, yes. So what I've done for my birthday is I've chose a Friendly Water for the World as a donation, and in lieu of presents or well wishes, I want people to donate to Friendly Water. So I think I've done that a couple times, and that's really been successful and positive. I've also gone around and talked to different groups about what Friendly Water is, and also, what I experienced when I went to El Fuerte. Do you want me to kind of get into that right now?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so I went to the training with Friendly Water in August. That must have been 2 years ago. Was that last year?
Last year? No, 2 years ago. No, last year.
Yeah, it was last year. Wow.
Yeah.
I know time's all suppressed right now. It's strange. So I went to the training in August of last year with Friendly Water. And that was just wonderful. It was a great training. I love that we were all together, that all these different people came from all the different parts of the world. I made friends from Africa. I made friends from different countries. And there was a contingency of people there from Mexico. A couple of them didn't speak English, so it was hard to communicate with them. But they were there getting trained as part of Flying Doctors of Mercy. So David, who was with them, is a doctor who actually he's a pilot also. And Flying Doctors of Mercy have been flying into El Fuerte, Mexico, gosh, I think since the 1920s or 30s. And they have a clinic there where they provide medical for the locals. So one of the doctors, Dr. Janet Lapp, decided that she wanted to start a clean water program and got involved with the biosand filters. And so I actually ended up, another gentleman, Paul, who was at the Anacortes Friendly Water training, he and I flew with Dr. Janet Lapp to El Fuerte in her private little plane. That was really cool. And we actually had 30 locals come from the colleges or nonprofits, and we actually trained them on how to make the biosand filters. And we did it over the course of about 5 days. Very similar to the training that we did in Anacortes. And so that training that we did in Anacortes really prepared me and Paul to be we were facilitators with our groups. So we had small groups of like 5 to 6 people that we actually taught them how to build their own biosand filters. And there was a little bit of a language barrier, but we made it work. It was really fun. And the community was very excited about it. one group bought a mold and they started making them right away. And it was just really fun to see it spread throughout the community. And then towards the end of the training, we went across the river. So the town of El Fuerte has clean water. It's an old colonial town. It's has a lot of infrastructure. But if you go across the river, which is only probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes away, there's some villages over there with a lot of kind of native people from Mexico who've come down over the last 50 years from the mountains because of the cartels being in the mountains. And they've come down and they're living in the villages. And some of them have wells. Many of the wells are contaminated with hepatitis A, I think. And so they have a lot of biosand filters in the villages. And so we actually went to the villages to check on the houses that had the biosand filters to make sure that they were using them correctly. As you know, you have to keep water in it. And then we actually installed 2 biosand filters with some families that met the criteria to qualify them to keep, that we knew that they would keep the filter and share the water. So it was a really exciting experience. And also knowing that I was prepared from my training from Anacortes and from Friendly Water to be able to train other people how to build the filters. It was really heart-opening and interesting, a lot of fun, and I made some really good friends just in that week.
That's all. All right. Well, that was fantastic. I was really appreciative that Renelle was able to show her experience. You know, she's interacted with the organization in a number of different ways and continues to, and has spoken a little for us and is a great advocate for the organization, is willing to. We had talked before COVID, pre-COVID, about potentially hosting events at her house and houses of other supporters. So she's interested in kind of working on that and figuring out how that would happen. So there's a lot of opportunities, and she's really been a fantastic ambassador for us. I was wondering if Sarah, are you there? There you are.
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Hi. I had asked Sarah to join us to talk about, she has done a lot of different things for us for what I consider to be capacity building. So it's a lot of this is office stuff that happens in the office with the organization. It is extraordinarily helpful because like most nonprofits, we only have so many resources available to us. And the work that the volunteers can do in the office can really accelerate what we're able to do. So I was hoping that Sarah could come and join us today and chat about a couple of those things.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate the opportunity. I've been volunteering with different organizations since my days as a campfire spark. Volunteering is just such an important part of my life. And with Friendly Water, it's such a caring and nurturing organization. You know, working in the office prior to COVID benefited myself, I think, as much as the organization in terms of professional development. The project that I'm most proud of that that my stepdaughter and I worked on was organizing and inventorying the merchandise that was in the back room. I've also worked with the data entry and verifying that the mailing addresses were correct for our mailing list. And then currently I'm helping to prepare the mailing by adding stamps. And, you know, right now I have an abundant amount of free time that I'm able to commit to that project. And let's see, I also worked, you know, remotely from home after the COVID outbreak, working with categorizing our photographs. And I don't think we've transferred those over yet. I think those are still on my computer. So, but in retrospect, I received invaluable experience working with this organization. You know, I get kind of emotional right now about it. So I don't know, does anybody have any questions?
Well, I didn't want to skip over too quickly the work you did helping us with inventory, because that was a huge, huge project. As anybody knows, when we have quite the table. It's one of the best looking tables around at any tabling event. And David's done a great job over the years putting things together and acquiring things on all of his trips and making great connections. And that adds up. And we have quite the have quite the inventory room. And it was something that we needed to get our arms around and figure out what we have, what we need to move, what is the value of everything there that's important for our accounting. And Sarah did a yeoman's job, going through everything, categorizing everything, making notes of everything, putting everything in boxes, labeling everything. It was huge. And she was in multiple days doing that. And we were always walking around the room, kind of clapping and all excited that this was happening, because it just frees us up to do other things. And it's just invaluable. So thank you so much, Sarah, for that.
Well, you're welcome. And thank you so much for all the opportunities over the year to, you know, work and grow with this organization.
Thanks. I really appreciate you sharing and contributing. Chris, are you able to chat about your experiences with us?
Yes, thank you. My name is Chris Rosell. Can everyone hear me? Good. I got involved. Well, first of all, a bit about my background. I'm from the Deep South. I grew up in a rural community on the white side of the tracks, which was also the right side of the tracks to grow up on. And we had water, sanitation, electricity, paved roads. The other side of the track, euphemistically named Whitesville, did not have paved roads, did not have water, did not have sanitation, did not have electricity, did not have public transportation. Growing up, I did not have any idea what to do about this horrible, biased system. I went to the seminary. They didn't tell me the solution. I went to the Air Force Academy. The academy told me by being the military, we were the peacekeepers of the world. It was hard for me to tell what was peacekeeping and what was oppression. We kept peace, they told me, by being able to kill more people faster than anyone else in the world. That did not give me a sense of peace. I went into the Peace Corps and to Guatemala, and I was utterly shocked by what America did to hijack the government, hijack the economies of Guatemala and other Central American countries. I came back, got a master's of nutrition, a master's of international public health. I studied the best health programs in the world. The best, to my understanding, is in Maharashtra State, India, the Jamkid Project. And once I had figured out what they did, I worked in 20-something countries of Africa, Asia, South America, Central America, and Haiti. I went to the Anacortes training with Friendly Water for the World. Thank you for the training, for the experience with the bricks, with brick making machines, with water filters. It was very interesting. After that, I went down near where Emmanuel is, landing in Entebbe Airport and going to Uganda, and with a local NGO in Uganda, In January and February of this year, I went to the South Sudanese border, which is on the total opposite part of Uganda, not the total opposite, the northern border of Uganda, and the Kampala is on the southern border. And working with the community, we first of all had a community meeting, and there were 200 or so community women, leaders, men, organizational leaders, health workers. And we met under a tree for 6 hours and went through a whole systems change consultative planning process. And the model I used was the Future Search Conference. And they told me that what they needed was safe water, latrines, hygiene, malaria protection. Their malaria rate is 61% of the community has malarial antigens in their blood. And they also needed a school building, and they also needed ways to generate income. So working with the community, we built 3 water wells with a Mark II variety hand pump. We got a large quantity water filter, just one, that wasn't nearly enough. We built tippy taps through the community for cheap hand washing without touching anything. You just touch the soap and the water, and you don't have to touch the jug. You operate it with your feet. We put in place an anti-malarial program that I negotiated with the district health officer in a district of 1 million people, and gave loans to 7 women's groups of about 210 women in all, to give out microloans to generate income. And we built a 3,000 square foot school building. That cost $11,000 in all, for the 3 wells, the 41 latrines, the hand washing, the school building, the anti-malarial program, $11,000, and loans, income generation loans to the women's groups. Since returning, I've continued to consult with them on a bi-weekly basis on Zoom calls. And now we have Kenyan communities, Nigerian communities, and communities from another 3 or 4 countries in Africa joining in our Zoom calls. And the focus of the Zoom call is, I've found an organization in America that gives out grants for circulating microloans. And the idea of it is, one of the things that happens, as I said, one of my degrees is nutrition. So many organizations sent me to places where I could meet 30,000 women who were starving and dying with their children on their laps. And it very, very, very much upset me. So I realized that if we don't do something to increase their ability to survive, so what that they have one thing or the other thing better, if they can't feed their families, take care of their families, educate their families, their life isn't better. So I planned with them, and then we try to address all the needs. And much of this is inspired by Friendly Waters for the World.
That's amazing.
That's all.
Thank you, Chris, for all of your work, both with our organization and on your own. It's you can't do it alone. That's for certain. This work cannot be done alone, and the more partnerships and the more folks doing it, the better. I have.
The founding thing is how much the communities can do if we join together with them and
That's
work
right.
hand in hand. I worked with other organizations like CARE International and Project Concern International and so on and so forth. And too frequently, we would do too much of the work and the community would do too little. And after a while, I started suspecting that what we were doing was dependency generation, not empowerment and development. Thanks. Any questions?
Yeah, any questions for Chris? Well, I have three.
I
actually.
have one.
Oh, there's David. All right.
Chris, I love your story. What gave you the oomph to get started?
What gave me the oomph to get started? You know, if I hadn't have gotten out of America, I probably wouldn't have thought of getting out of my comfort zone. So going the first time to Guatemala Peace Corps and being horrified at America's involvement, domination of their history and overthrowing their governments, and saying to myself, how could I be this ignorant of what my nation has been doing for generations? And that told me, go home and study it and find out and find more viable approaches and inform yourself.
Thank you, Chris. I would note that my story is the same. When I went to Iran, that exactly the same thing happened.
Wow.
Yes, thank you. Well, I had three other speakers, one of which I've been got in contact with, and two others who I've not heard from. It seems to be a day for it. So what I was hoping before we end is, David, I'm going to put you on the spot, but that's only because I plan to get a recording of this from you anyway. And that is, you've had some very innovative ways to fundraise and talk about Friendly Water for the World in the past, including napping and a few other ideas like that. And I was wondering if you could share some of kind of the innovative ideas you've had, so we can capture that and folks can hear about it.
Okay, sure, I guess. So people who know me know that I'm either inspired or crazy half the time. I imagine both go together. I begin with the perspective that, you know, I have so many friends abroad and they've struggled for so long, and but we're all just people. And if I can give people a sense of what my friends are like and just make the world a little smaller, people are great. And people, my experience is that people are very generous, more generous than we ever give them credit, but we never ask them for very much. We don't ask them to come on our journeys with us. We isolate ourselves. And 90% of what I do in the world, I guess it could be called morale building. that, the idea that we can do extraordinary things, and we can join up with people doing extraordinary things. I'm looking there at Benjamin in his sunglasses. I know his story, and how he's working with some of the poorest people on the face of the earth. I always tell people the story of him working with the people that are called the rat eaters, which is a lower caste group of people in India who, when there's lack of other food available, they eat rats. And when you have COVID and the restaurants are closed, you run out of rats. I mean, and it's hard for us even to get our hands around that sort of thing. But the thing to get around is not so much that they're eating rats, but these people are extraordinarily resilient. That they have a resolve, that they have a community that they go on, that they manage to survive under the worst sorts of conditions, both environmentally, economically, and socially. India has its horrific caste system, that they have made things possible. And I look again to my friends. I work with an organization in India, with many organizations, but one of my favorites is called Kude Khidmatgar, which is a new incarnation of a Muslim followers of Gandhi from 70 years ago, that all of a sudden raised its head again around 2010. And these are just people, who, there's a lot of unemployment in India. But unemployment also means that people have free time. And it's just organizing people's positive instincts to go forward and to find things to do. So I know that, Will, you mentioned napping, Nap for Life. And there was a program that I started. I'd still like to start it again, because we started it too early when we were too small. But, my friend Dennis Mills was turning 70, and his wife asked him what he wanted for his birthday, and he said, well, really what I want to do is go take a nap. I said, that's great. Some of us don't walk, we don't run, we don't do marathons, we don't do that sort of thing, but everybody can take a nap. And so we did a fundraising campaign around Dennis going to take a nap. And we installed a little camera in his room so you could watch him take a nap, and people could donate $25 an hour to have him nap, and he kept a log, and he showed himself in funny sleeping caps by the Great Wall of China and all around the world, by the Taj Mahal. And we had so much fun with that. And, I was hoping, but we really didn't succeed at the time because we were too small, that we could get napping volunteers across the United States. You don't have to walk. You don't have to run. You just have to get people to sponsor you to take a nap. So that's kind of an example of my craziness. We did another project. This is about 4 years ago. So there's a food in India, mostly in India, Pakistan, called biryani, and it's a food that is often a festive food. It takes a lot of preparation. And there's a great debate in India as to what part of India has the best biryani. I have my opinion, other people have theirs. And so, as it turns out, in Olympia, there's a wonderful Muslim-Jewish coalition. And I said, well, we could have an evening where, we had a fundraiser for a Muslim community was working on a water project with us to raise money for this project, and we could have a biryani tasting contest. And then we thought for a minute and said, but we could involve the Jewish community too. What would be a Jewish food that we could have a contest around? Blintzes. So we had a biryani and Blintz festival, where people brought their Muslim communities from various parts of India and Pakistan and Bangladesh, brought their biryani to taste, and people in the Jewish community made blintzes, and we all ate and had a good time, and we raised about $6,000, I think, on that night. And what was really exciting was not the money, frankly. It was the fact that we could bring communities. I mean, it was probably the only biryani and Berlin's festival ever held in the world. I could be wrong, but I think it's probably the only one. But the idea that, you know, people in the community with disparate backgrounds and disparate experience could unite around the cause of clean water and have fun doing it was really, really important to me. Life is too short to slog. The world is a horrible place. It looks like we're going to hell in a handbasket, but there's also so much joy and so many good people out there. I'm seeing a lot of them in the pictures here. That you know, together we can do so much more than we can isolated in our own homes. Thanks.
Yeah, that's the message. What we can do together. Thanks, David. That's fantastic. And so just to follow up on that, you know, if you're interested, please connect with us. Like, as I said, there's opportunity, and on the capacity building stuff, if you're not everyone is an extrovert and likes to be in front of folks. For those who are, or even for the extroverts who like to do more office work, there's lots of opportunity there. There's always opportunities to speak for us about your experience or your experience with the organization. Hopefully someday, again, we will have tabling if we ever are able to leave our homes again. So I'm hoping that happens soon. But in the meantime, any avenues for digital fundraising that you're interested in, raising money through Facebook or raising money through Instagram, or not even raising money, just talking about your experience, or promoting a particular project that we're working on. Those are just invaluable opportunities. There's always, we're not doing training this year, obviously, because of COVID, but in the future, come to a training and then potentially go overseas like Ronal has done. Chris has gone overseas, and several others. And as we've expanded our technologies that we're using, we're also deepening our expertise in those technologies. So we just recently acquired a brick making machine in Olympia, and we're hoping to build a handful of things with those bricks, one of them being a microflush toilet. So if you or anybody else you know has expertise in some of these basic life improving technologies, please let us know. You're welcome to come join us as we kind of work on them and work.
Or just use your physical energy.
That's right. Just get out of the house. There's lots of opportunity there. So thanks very much.
Will, November 27th?
Yes, I was going to leave with that. So a couple things.
Sorry.
No, you're good. A couple things I want to make sure I mention is November 27th. Make sure that's circled in red on your calendar, or yellow with bright sunshine around it. That is our fall fundraiser. We've sent out a couple of messages about it in the newsletter. We'll be sending out another one, and we'll be talking a lot more about it in October. Hopefully it'll be something that's fun and interesting to think and talk about instead of all of this election stuff that's going on. So a nice distraction to have. It'll be a virtual fundraiser, so we will all be connecting through the web, which is kind of nice because the in-person ones, obviously, they had some limitations that folks who are overseas or in different time zones couldn't connect with us. So hopefully we'll be able to get folks from around the world on and joining us and speaking. It's still, we've got a date. We're working on the time a little. We want to be able to make sure that we can get folks on the West and Central and East Coast all joining, as well as folks around the world. And you'll hear a lot more about it. If you have any ideas, one idea that I'm currently working on and seeking input for is we really want folks to be able to engage on the call. And there are a variety of ways that this is done, and I've seen it done through other organizations, sometimes folks dress up, sometimes they decorate something, sometimes they have signs, sometimes there's a little game that's played, but we really want people to be able to engage if they want to engage, and not just kind of sit and listen to something. It should be a fun and high energy kind of event. So we're really looking forward to it. Everybody in the organization is really excited about it, and me too. So any questions about that, you can always reach me, will@friendlywater.org. You can reach David at friendlywater.org, and look for our website, which should be up in a couple of weeks. That'll be a great tool to have going into a full fundraiser as well. So that's all I have. David, if you don't have anything else, I'll sign us out.
Well, thank you all for coming. Good to see you all.
A quick question for Chris. How do I find your Zoom so I can learn more about the micro loans?
Let's see, if you, my email is chris.roselle@gmail.com. Chris.roselle.
I'll email you. Thank you.
Good. So if you email, I can send you connections of the microloans. To me is enormously interesting. It's the community coming up with ideas how to improve itself, independent of our being there. It's empowerment.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Benjamin, you look glorious.
Bye-bye.